Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads. Okay, so we're going to read Felicity's friend book. Very funny, Elizabeth. And here's Elizabeth's family and friends. So one thing that I find interesting is that there's no portrait of Elizabeth's mother and father. Oh well. Chapter 1. The Merriest Girls in Virginia. Elizabeth Cole quickened her steps so she was even farther ahead of her sister Annabelle. It was a very cold, very clear December day. Elizabeth, in her sky blue cloak, looked like a brisk, busy bluebird as she hurried along to the main streets of Williamsburg. She just had to get to Merriman's store before Annabelle did. Elizabeth glanced over her shoulder and saw that she need not worry. Annabelle was walking at a ladylike pace and lagging far behind. Good, thought Elizabeth. Quick as a wink, she dashed up to the steps of Mr. Merriman's store. She opened the door and poked her head inside. Her very best friend, Felicity Merriman, was waiting so close to the door that girls practically bumped noses, which made them burst into giggles. Mr. Merriman smiled at Elizabeth and Felicity. You two girls are the merriest girls in Virginia, he said. He bowed to Felicity and asked, How are you today, Miss Elizabeth? Elizabeth bobbed a curtsy, even the part of her that was curtsying still was outside the door. I am very well, thank you, Mr. Merriman, she said politely. Mr. Merriman turned back to his work, and Elizabeth back to Felicity. Annabelle is coming. Is this a good day to play our joke? Aye, said Felicity. She tilted her head back to the corner of the store where her father's apprentice Ben was up on a ladder stocking shelves. Elizabeth glanced at Ben, and then she and Felicity shared a delightful grin. In some ways, Elizabeth and Felicity were very different. Elizabeth was rather small for her age. Felicity was tall. Elizabeth had golden hair and sunny, even temperament. She was good at thinking and planning, while Felicity rushed headlong into things and a gingery temper to match her gingery red hair. Elizabeth came from a family of loyalists who believed that it was best for a king of England to rule the colonies. Felicity and her family thought some of the king's laws were unfair, so they were patriots. But in all ways that were really important, Elizabeth and Felicity were alike. They both loved to read. They both loved to be out of doors. They both loved animals. They both loved to laugh. And most of all, they both loved being best friends. Elizabeth ducked outside the door and saw that Annabelle had stopped at the edge of a slushy puddle made of yesterday's melted snow. Elizabeth watched her sister shudder with horror, lift her petticoat, and minced her way around the puddle as if they were a nest of snakes. Elizabeth waited patiently. She was used to waiting for Annabelle. Even though Elizabeth was younger and smaller, she was much quicker than Annabelle. Just as Elizabeth expected, when Annabelle drew near, she scolded, "'Tis unladylike to walk so fast, Bitsy." You are quite right, Elizabeth answered sweetly, though she did not like being called Bitsy any more than she liked being scolded. I should have walked slowly as you did. Elizabeth dabbed her eyes with her handkerchief. I'm sure I look a sight. Hurrying in this cold weather has made my eyes red and runny, while your eyes look bright and clear. Annabelle smiled and preened. She was a very pretty young lady, and especially proud of her big, beautiful brown eyes. Just the other day, a young man told me the first thing he noticed were bright, clear eyes and good, sound teeth, said Elizabeth. She went on as if she were thinking aloud. Oh, yes, who told me that? Oh, yes, 'twas Ben. Ben? Repeated Annabelle, suddenly very alert and interested. She adjusted her hat, smoothed her cloak, and marched past Elizabeth into Mr. Merriman's store. Elizabeth swallowed a laugh as she followed. She and Felicity knew very well that Annabelle was smitten with Ben and always eager for attention from him. The joke Elizabeth and Felicity had planned for today depended on the fact that Annabelle was sweet on Ben. Annabelle spotted Ben and aimed straight for him like an arrow shot from a bow. Good day, Miss Cole, said Mr. Merriman to Annabelle as she flew by. May I help you? Annabelle stopped and looked at Mr. Merriman with consternation. He was not the one she was interested in. Elizabeth and Felicity were worried. Their joke would not work if Mr. Merriman helped Annabelle. Oh, no, thank you, Mr. Merriman, said Annabelle hastily. I beg you won't not trouble yourself, sir. Ben can help me. Very well, said Mr. Merriman, who went to the storeroom. Elizabeth and Felicity sighed small sighs of relief. They were content to be looking at whistles Out of the corners of her eyes, they watched Annabelle. Ben, said Annabelle loudly. She startled poor Ben so much that she lurked, wobbled, and almost fell off the ladder. Ben turned, and Annabelle smiled flirtatiously upon him. I'm here for ribbons, she said. Do help me. Ben climbed down the ladder and took his place behind the counter. Annabelle leaned toward him and opened her eyes very wide. She says, What color will look best with my eyes, do you think? Brown, said Ben. Ooh la, twittered Annabelle, as if Ben had said something clever. But brown is not very festive, and the ribbons to trim my very best dress, the dress I'll be wearing if I'm invited to any Christmas parties, concerts, dinner balls. Annabelle fluttered her eyes and smiled, a smile that showed her all her teeth, she said significantly, or weddings. Ben squinted at Annabelle's toothy smile and flirty, fluttery eyes. Miss Cole, he said, are you quite well? Is there something in your eye? Do you have a toothache? Ooh la. Annabelle said again, smiling even more toothily and fluttering her eyelashes even faster. I know you admire bright eyes and sound teeth. A little bird told me they are the first thing you notice. Elizabeth poked Felicity. Her joke was working. Ben looked puzzled. Bright eyes and sound teeth, he replied. He thought for a moment, and he said, Well, yes, they are, Miss Cole, when I'm looking at a horse. A horse? Squawked Annabelle. Ben nodded. Elizabeth and Felicity covered their mouths to smother their laughter, but one or two giggles sneaked out. Annabelle whirled around to face them, her smile now sunk into a sour frown, her eyes now narrow and angry. You, she snarled at Elizabeth, you tricked me. And with that, Annabelle stomped her foot and stormed out of the store without another word. Befuddled, Ben shrugged and climbed back up the ladder. Elizabeth, Felicity said. Annabelle's annoyed. No doubt, said Elizabeth cheerfully, but it was well worth it. Elizabeth smiled widely and fluttered her eyelashes in imitation of Annabelle. Nay, she neighed softly like a quiet horse. Felicity laughed and shook her head. I remember you used to be afraid of Annabelle, she said. 'Twas you who taught me to stand up to Annabelle Bananabelle, Elizabeth replied. Mind, she still snips at me as much as ever, but I don't let her scolding bother me anymore. It's just part of her silliness, and now that I know, it's much more fun to laugh than to be afraid. You and I laugh, said Felicity, but doesn't Annabelle get angry at you when you tease her? Well, yes, said Felicity, though of course I tease her only a little because she is my sister and I love her and I want to help her. To help her? Felicity asked. Indeed, yes, said Elizabeth. I tease Annabelle to show how ridiculous she's acting. I know that underneath all of Annabelle's airs and silliness, she has a sense of humor and a sensible brain. I tease her to poke her and prod her in being her true self. She will thank me someday. I don't think she's going to thank you today, Felicity said. In fact, I think you'd better hurry along after now and try to calm her before she gets home. You are quite right, said Elizabeth. I will see you tomorrow at lessons. The two friends bobbed happy curtsies, then Elizabeth left. As she skipped down the steps outside the store, Elizabeth saw that Annabelle's annoyance seemed to have made her forget all about walking at a ladylike pace. Elizabeth had to trot to keep up with her sister. When she did, Annabelle snapped. Very funny, Elizabeth. You made me act all like a ninny in front of Ben. Bright eyes and sound teeth, ha! You knew perfectly well he was talking about horses. How could you? It was only a joke, said Elizabeth. You meant it all in fun. A joke? Sputtered Annabelle. Now Ben thinks I'm a nincompoop. Elizabeth privately believed that Ben had always thought Annabelle was a nincompoop when he thought of her at all. But Elizabeth said soothingly, Now, Annabelle, 'twas only Ben. Ben comes from a very fine family in Yorktown, said Annabelle. I consider him an eligible beau. He fancies himself a patriot, says he's going to join the army when he finishes his apprenticeship, but I am sure I can talk him out of that wrong-headed notion. In any case, I'm going to put that out now, thanks to you. He may never come courting. Courting? Said Elizabeth. Now it was her turn to sputter. Annabelle was always flirting. But Elizabeth thought flirtatiousness, like scolding, was just another part of her sister's silliness. You can't be serious, Annabelle. It's not as if you're truly thinking of becoming engaged or married. You are but 16 years of age. Annabelle stopped and faced Elizabeth. 16 is not too young to begin courting, or even to marry. Indeed, if I wait too long, all the best gentlemen will be snapped up by other young ladies, she said with a greedy glint in her eyes. My whole future happiness depends on marrying well. I must be a mistress of my own house. Finding a husband and making good marriage is serious business. The sooner the better. I am glad I'm only 10 years old and marriage and men are no worry of mine yet, Elizabeth said. I would hate to change my life so greatly and to leave mother and father. I love our home and our life just the way they are here in Williamsburg. I want my life to stay the same forever. Snorted Annabelle crossly. With your help and that of your fine friend Felicity, my life will stay the same forever too. I'll be stuck at home and die an old maid. The more she ranted, the more Annabelle worked herself into a ladder. I won't stand for any more of your teasing, she said hotly. I'm going to put a stop to it. I shall speak to Mama and tell her how you tricked me today. Come, Bitsy. As she followed Annabelle home, Elizabeth was not worried. Annabelle loved to tattle and told tales on Elizabeth nearly every day. In fact, Annabelle's complaints came so fast and so frequently that Elizabeth noticed her parents hardly listened to them anymore. So Elizabeth calmly went with Annabelle to the parlor where the mother and father were talking. She calmly waited for Annabelle to pour out her disgruntlements. But Annabelle did not have a chance to say a word. As soon as she saw the two girls making their curtsies, Mr. Cole said, "There you are. Come in, make haste, be seated, and I would like to speak to you, Annabelle." Her father spoke so seriously that it sounded to Elizabeth as if Annabelle was the one in trouble this time. Elizabeth, full of curiosity, sat on a stiff side chair and picked up her stitchery. She kept her eyes cast down upon it, waiting greedily to hear what her father had to say. Even Annabelle was quiet for a change. Mr. Cole seemed unsure how to begin. He said, clearing his throat. What ails father, thought Elizabeth. This dilly-dallying is unlike him. Annabelle, my dear, said Mr. Cole at last, I have a letter here from the Honorable Miss Priscilla Lacey. Her father, Lord Hugh Lacey, was a friend of mine in England. I conducted some business for him, as you may recall. Annabelle blurted out, well, no, father, But Mr. Cole held up his hand to stop her. Now he had begun to speak. He did not want to be interrupted. Lord Hugh Lacey died a few years ago, he said. His son Harry inherited his title and became Lord Harry. Miss Lacey has been running the estate and household for Harry, who is much younger than he is. But Harry is now of age to marry. And so Miss Lacey has written me to suggest, that is, she asked. Mr. Cole cleared his throat again, then came out in all a rush. Miss Lacey proposes that our brother should marry you. Elizabeth was so surprised that she pricked herself with a needle. Me? Annabelle leaped with her feet and squeaked. Oh, yes, I will, father. I will marry Lord Hugh and move to England, and gladly. Lord Harry, Mr. Cole cried. What? Oh, yes. Of course, fluttered Annabelle, bouncing. Lord Harry. Yes, I meant Lord Harry, of course. Annabelle, my child, said Mrs. Cole. Do stop and think, I beg you. Marrying is the most serious decision a young woman makes. Remember that once you are married forever. Yes, Elizabeth piped up, and England is very, very far away. And also, you don't know Lord Harry. Perhaps you will not like him. Pish posh, said Annabelle. He is a lord. I will be a lady. That's all I need to know. Don't be hasty, said Mrs. Cole. Marrying will mean the end of the youthful freedom you now enjoy. When you have only your father and me to please and yourself to amuse. A married woman, especially a lady married to such a man as Lord Harry, has many responsibilities. It will not all be riding in fine carriages, wearing fancy ball gowns, and going to parties and balls. There will be a huge country house to be mistress of, with many servants to manage, and most likely another large house in London. London? Annabelle exclaimed ecstatically. She clasped her hands together and rose up to her toes in delight. Elizabeth could tell that her mother's sensible warnings, which were meant to bring Annabelle down to the earth, were having quite the opposite effect. Annabelle wasn't thinking of how far away England was or the many responsibilities her new life would bring. She was only thinking about the romance and prestige. Annabelle gushed, oh, I want to marry Lord Harry as soon as possible. Mr. Cole looked at Mrs. Cole, who nodded slowly. Then Mr. Cole said, very well, I will send a positive answer to Miss Priscilla. She and Lord Harry are visiting relatives in New York just now. I will write and invite them to come to Williamsburg straight away. We will work out the marriage contract and the details of the wedding then. We will announce the engagement and Christmastide, and the wedding can take place in February. Oh, St. Valentine's Day, swooned Annabelle. Oh, that would be romantic. As you wish, said Mr. Cole. Then you will sail to England in the spring. Well, I'll go now and begin my letter to Miss Priscilla. He bowed. Elizabeth, Annabelle, and Mrs. Cole curtsied and left. Immediately, Annabelle turned to her mother. Oh, Mama, she crowed. Isn't it wonderful? I'm to be married. Aren't you pleased? Mrs. Cole patted Annabelle's hand. I am pleased to see you so happy, my dear, she said, and to know that you'll be safe in England. But I worry. Gracious, Annabelle interrupted. You mustn't waste time worrying, Mama. There's so much to do. We must prepare for Lord Harry and Miss Priscilla, and I shall need a wedding dress and clothes for my new life as Lady Lacy. Annabelle was floating with joy and gloating with satisfaction. Just think, every young lady in Williamsburg will envy me when she hears the news. Oh, Mama, we must have the big party at Christmastide to announce the engagement, and I will be the center of her attention. Our party must be one that no one will ever forget. Elizabeth smiled down at her stitchery. She could not believe that Annabelle was truly going to be engaged. But visitors from England and a party with Annabelle as the belle of the ball? That truly sounded like a Christmas season full of opportunity for mischief-making and for fun for Elizabeth and Felicity, the merriest girls in Virginia. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.